Hello and welcome to another episode of Foggy with a Chance of Seagulls. I am Evan, joined as always by my well-dressed friend Clark. Clark, how you doing today?
I'm feeling good. I got a giant attitude today, Evan. I got some comeback fever. I'm feeling good. The Giants are rolling.
They are rolling indeed. How was your weekend? You're just out of town.
Yeah, I was in Yellowstone National Park with some extended family. It was a blast. It's a beautiful, beautiful park. It was pretty cold, so a lot of the tourists and stuff, it wasn't as packed as it can be in the summer, which was nice. Saw a bunch of geysers, saw some bears, some bison. I missed some baseball, though. But
that's what I was going to say. I bet you were looking at some beautiful nature thinking, I wish I had MLB TV in front of me right now.
The way the Giants are playing, that is kind of the case. I did hop in. We drove back from the park where I had no cell service and got home and turned on the game for that Matt Chapman play. It's the only play I saw in that entire game. I also saw that comeback that you were in attendance for. So we're going to get into it. But yeah, tell me about you. You saw some live baseball this weekend.
I did see some live baseball this weekend. The Giants were in New York, and I went to see a game at Citi Field. But we'll get to that because, honestly, I mean, on a macro level, 100% the most fun week of Giants baseball that we've had this week. We thought maybe that we'd peaked with that Rockies series the other week, but no. Somehow we came up with the most statistically improbable week of all time. And
truly,
honestly, this team is just fun. They're gutsy. They believe in what they're doing, and you don't know where the hero's going to come from. There's been all types of guys stepping up, not just any one guy carrying the team, and it's been so fucking fun. And all Giants fans, we deserve this as shit, I think. And so I'd love to just honestly start just going through these few series that we've had here against the NL East because it's been a true whirlwind. So starting in Pittsburgh at PNC Park, we had a 3-game set against the Pirates, and it started badly. Right after the Rocky series, it was like, all right, we've got the good juju from Matos and the young guys coming up, but what are we going to do in this next week? And immediately we wasted a Logan Webb start. The Matt Caning is on another level. I was watching this game. I was at home in the Bay, actually. It was just a nice, easy win that I thought we deserved, like Tyro homers, Chappie homers, and we were cruising until the 9th until there was a bit of a collapse. Luke Jackson put some guys on.
Sorry, Luke Jackson.
But Marco Luciano's going to make a big error. And
fantastic.
And we just blew a fat lead. And the Pirates came back and won it 7-6. And the Depression Goblins were coming back up. I'm not going to lie. And why are we so allergic to getting Logan a win? It's so crazy.
That was a theme all week. We had all these comebacks, and we give away leads when Logan pitches. Disrespect.
It is disrespect. For as much of as we know he's a clubhouse leader, and I think a lot of fans love Logan too, I was thinking this week that that's maybe the one thing that has prevented him from ascending to a Lincecum Bumgarner status with the fan base is just we truly find a way to not win in his games. But the bad vibes would only last for so long because the next day, well, there's bad vibes for a little bit. Blake Snell started for us. Another forgettable start. We've been talking about it. It's been tough to watch him lately, hasn't it?
It has been. I think there's such a funny irony to him being so mediocre and us winning both of his starts this past week and Webb being so good and us losing both of his starts. It's why pitcher wins don't matter, folks.
They don't matter, but that's the Cy Young tandem, exactly how we wanted to play it out. Lose all of Logan's
starts. If you lose the Webb start, that's why we have Snell, baby.
Exactly. He always comes back, but he was forgettable. But we had 2 big innings from Randy Rodriguez. The Pirates are just full of those guys where the narratives are just oozing. So many Giants-related players. Brian Reynolds with a grand slam there. But we slowly clawed back. Soler an RBI in the 5th. Chappie a homer in the 6th. Soler an RBI in the 8th. And then late night ties it up in the 9th, staying true to the nickname. And big innings from our preferred trio to end it. Tyler to Ryan to Camilo, scoreless at the end. And then just such a huge fucking 9th inning. Bailey, Soler, Wisely, Matos just piling it on. The good times were rolling. And that, I think, is where the tide turned for this team, to be honest with you. I mean, it's the start of one of the more unforgettable runs of Giants baseball, in my opinion, in recent history. And they take that energy into the next day for comeback number 2. Again, overcoming a messy start. Eric Miller opens, looks good, but allows a homer, I think.
It was a leadoff homer to
yes.
McCutchen, which Matos almost robbed. That would have been an insane play.
Yeah, and how quickly we were kind of accepting Matos in center field so far. I mean, there's room for gaffes in the rest of the season, but he's looking good. But yeah, again, this was the Giants punished by former Giants players. Reynolds hits a homer. Bart hits a grand slam. McCutchen hits a homer. But like
all we were missing was Connor Joe for the
exactly
the full Pirates Giants
for
spectrum.
Every era of Giants baseball. A different player to hurt us. But like we were doing on this road trip, it's just slowly clawing back and like not believing that we're out of it, which I think started with the game before. Helliott with the homer in the 7th. But we're again down 6-2 going into the 8th, and Chappie with a big signature home run, 3-run homer. Wilmer and Wisely both with RBI singles to go up 7-6. And then I do want to note this because this becomes a narrative later in the week, but Tyler Rogers with the save to lock it down. And, that Pirates series on the whole was a big coin flip, three different comebacks from the Giants and the Pirates both. But just such a fun series that I think was such a turning point for us.
Truly, the team that won each game should not have won each game.
Yes.
It was wild that every time a team was leading going into the late innings, it was like, well, you can't expect to win. I mean, you're up 4 runs. I mean, who would expect you to win up 4 runs in the 9th inning?
Exactly. And I feel like the thing that's heartening about those wins too is that it was our offense picking up our pitching. And the book on the Giants is the pitching's good, offense question mark. But this is, even in the loss, 6 runs, 9 runs on that second game, 7 runs in the third. And granted, we're playing a Pirates team that was under 500. Their bullpen looked absolutely gassed. Love to see us touch up Aroldis Chapman whenever we can, for many reasons. And but yeah, it was just such a gutsy performance that does go into the next series. The Giants do it improbably again, overcoming another tough start. Kyle, 5 innings, 5 runs, but they just slowly claw back. Soler hits a homer. They're down 6-2 going to the 8th. Estrada hits a double to score Yaz and Lamont. Patrick Bailey with an absolutely majestic grand slam off of Reed Garrett. I mean, he fucking stung that thing.
Truly one of the best home runs I've seen a Giant hit in a long time. I mean, there was just something so pure. I'm so jealous of him. Grant Brisbee in The Athletic wrote such a great recap of this home run, and he nailed it on the head. But essentially, I mean, you watch baseball for a moment like that. And Bailey, 2-0, sitting on a fastball, middle in, and he got it and absolutely demolished it. And, it's one of those. A guy comes up with the bases loaded, you're down 3, you're like, oh, a grand slam would be nice here. And he did it. It was nice. It was very nice.
Yes, yes. It's usually just aspirational announcing, but he made it happen. And, when I saw that, like, obviously we've been fans of Patty for a long time, but like just seeing him come up big in a moment like that like it really feel like he just is here. He has arrived. He is that guy. He's that guy you want up in situational at bats to like drive a run in. And yeah, if you subscribe to the Athletic, the three faces that came out of that, like the Reed Garrett just like looking deflated, the manager looking pissed, and this one kid Mets fan looking like absolutely shocked. It's just so good, and the sound off the bat was insane. But Yaz hits a homer in the ninth, and we work through some trouble in the ninth as Camilo allows an RBI to Lindor. Marco, another costly error,
which had ramifications for him for the next week, basically, or next few days. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, there was that big error in the first Pirates game, and this was kind of the sequel to it. And we did not want to make a trilogy, but they worked through it. And as it's been much talked about all across the Bay Area, Matt Chapman with the absolute play of the year. The bases are loaded, I think, and
3-2 count.
Little dribbler up the left side, and he just bare hands it, just no hesitation, throws a dart to first, a little bit off the bag. Lamont stretches out, scoops it. If it goes past him, we lose the game. We truly lose the game, and
right.
Just the confidence with he did it was so fucking impressive. And man, I was wearing my Giants jersey before I went to the game on Saturday, rather, and there was like freaking Yankees and Mets fans stopping me on the street to be like, "Did you see that Chapman play? Like, it was that fucking good." Yeah.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, and that was the one play you saw.
That was literally the one play of the game. I underestimated what an impact he was going to have on the kind of day-to-day confidence that the team has overall. And I want to give a quick shout out. We're going to keep recapping games, but I want to talk about Matt Chapman just briefly.
Do it.
Bob Melvin and Matt Williams were talking about this in the offseason. They were like, this is the type of guy you want in a clubhouse. This is the guy, he plays every day. He grinds, da-da-da. And some of it was like, okay, that's your guy. You've managed him before, you'd love to have him.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah, exactly. But it really has been astounding watching him. And we were talking just a second ago about Blake Snell, and you and I have been texting about just how tough his starts have been, even when he's striking guys out.
Yeah.
It's long counts. It's not super entertaining, even when he's doing well. And then inevitably he gives up a homer to Schwarber or something else, walks a bunch of guys. But Chapman has just been entertaining the whole year. And the first month he wasn't really hitting. And you and I were having this conversation about bat speed and, okay, it matters, but if he's not hitting the ball, how hard he swing, what does that do? But we're seeing just the defensive superstardom from him, how he can just take over a game and make things so easy for the rest of the team. We talked about before the year how Luciano being potentially our starting shortstop this year was going to be easier with Chapman there. And I thought because of kind of the range factor, Chapman can get to more balls in the hole, so Luciano can focus more on going to his left than his right. But I think more so than even like the kind of geometry of the diamond, his ability to pick up Marco in that moment where Marco has another brutal error, he's in his head, and Chapman makes a running play, bare hands a ball, wins the game for us, and picks up Marco Luciano, who I'm sure is not, he's in his head right now. And being able to, win that game and not have two losses now potentially pinned on him, I think is huge for just his confidence as a young player, but also just demonstrates how important and how vital Matt Chapman is to a team. And I did not really understand that before he became a Giant.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, small sample size, of course, but it was like him and Davis were kind of doing the same thing, JD. And it was kind of like, Was it worth this? Are we going to be locked into this contract next year? And he's absolutely playing himself into a big deal on the free agent market, whether that's with us or somebody else, I don't know. But yeah, I kind of, the defense. I mean, the best thing that I can think of to compare it to is what Crawford did for us for so many years. Like, he just picks up the guys around him and he changes the game with his defense. And you're not necessarily going to see that in the metrics or the stats. There's defensive stats and stuff like that. But he's similar too in that he'll make errors, but it's because he's so confident in what he does. It's almost like how Steph and Draymond have a bunch of turnovers, but at the same time they're gonna do something that make you go like, wow, there's nobody else that could execute that thing that you did, have the vision that you had. It's just such a quick reaction time, and the athletic ability to execute the vision is so incredible. I mean, to go back to that play, to just the instinct is go, I'm going to get it. I believe I can get it. I know I can make the throw fast enough. If I don't, there's consequences, but it's not even thinking about the consequences. It's just doing. And it just made whoever plays next to him so much better. He picks us up so much. Obviously, this was a big moment that changed the game, the outcome of the game, but he does it in small things that aren't going to make the highlight reels and stuff too. In the Philly series that we're currently in, I think yesterday there was this ball off Tyler Rogers' glove that just immediately redirects. He clocks it, throws a dart to first, and that stuff changes games. That was a game that we'll get to it. We ultimately won 1-0, and you don't know what one base runner does in that situation. And you combine that with the offense that we're seeing him now, the power that we were promised, and between the power, the defense, and the mustache, he just is such a fucking dude. It's so good. And I think
one of the best mustaches.
It is. It fits him so well. I've joined him as well. I think that my mustache, honestly, has more to do with our success. My quote unquote mustache has more to do with our success than anybody else. But if I had to give it up for anybody else, it would be for him. But man, what a gutsy play for him. And then to transition into the next game, this Saturday was the game that I went to.
You almost got a no-hitter. Not in a good way either.
It's true. But, with the confidence the team had, I was never worried, genuinely. Luis Severino was taking a no-hitter into the fifth, and I was like, I went with Lana, my girlfriend, and I was like, I'm not worried. We have literally no hits, but I just know that we can take it back. And sure enough, we did. Our man Patty Barrels with a single to tie it in the sixth, 1-1. Jelly comes in, who's been looking great lately, but he gave a big homer to Brett Beatty in the seventh. And so we were down one going into the ninth. And as soon as I heard ba-ba-da-ba-ba, I was like, we have a chance to fucking come back.
We gonna win this.
Exactly. But Edwin Diaz, who had been removed from the closer role recently, despite his long history of success, they put him back in, wanted to see what he could do. And it was a mistake. Let's say that. Wilmer had just such a classic dink to get on. And just the sequence of the ninth was just so Giants. Wilmer, probably hit it 40 miles per hour off the bat, but just gets it where they aren't. Fucking Ryan McKenna pinch runs, steals second. This rando guy. There's some Giants fans behind me in the stands, and I literally heard them go, "Who the fuck is Ryan McKenna?" And I think Giants fans everywhere feel the same. But late night comes through with such a big hit. Unfortunately, gets thrown out and re-aggravates that hammy that he strained on the Chapman play. But honestly, such a big moment from him. And then, Jackson, who many Giants fans wanted his head earlier in the week with the Pirates
reason.
loss. It's true. But he had a really gutsy bottom of the ninth. There's another Luciano error. The trilogy was complete. But he worked through it. And I in the moment when I saw him coming out, I was like, anybody but this guy, and he did it, and it was
And
really
he was
needed,
fired up
and
too. He got
yeah,
that
big
last fly
time.
out by Alonso to finish that inning, and he is just pounding his glove. He's fired up and he's yelling it. It was cool to see because I don't know. I'm sure it's not fun for him. So seeing him,
No.
be excited after a positive result is huge.
Yeah, and the Giants are a better team with him doing well. So I think
Exactly.
he's earned a little bit of leeway to find his form again. But then it becomes the Brett Wisely show. He opens the floodgates with an RBI single in the 10th, Mato single, Tyro reaches on an error, Bailey RBI walk. They're getting Doval up to save the game. And then Mike Yastrzemski with a triple. I feel like I'm always seeing clutch Yaz hits, honestly.
Bro,
And then
it's been his entire Giants tenure. People don't give him credit for being such a it's late night Lamont. He's got this catchy nickname, but we need to come up with some sort of catchy nickname for Clutch Yaz because he's been so good at this for years now. I mean, it's going on 5 years.
Yeah, it's so true, and it doesn't show up in the stat sheet again. But he really, and you look at the numbers this year, and you're like, send him down, and I just don't agree. I think he's such an important member of this team, but he hits that triple. Giants are up 7-2. Camilo comes in, blows away Brandon Nimmo and JD Martinez, arguably the best hitters on the Mets after Alonso. Bader to fly out, and just such a fun win. I mean, if you're a Giants fan and you go to New York, highly recommend going to see a game at Citi Field.
Tell me more about the experience. I've never been.
It's I've gone to some games last year and this year as well, and it's number one, way better than Yankee Stadium, which is some corporate Wall Street ass vibes. But the food is great. Mets fans, I was in like the third or fourth. This guy started sitting in our section who had a jersey that on the back said thumbs down guy or man or something like that, and his whole thing was like putting a thumbs down whenever something bad happens. And because of the Mets, he had one thumbs up for the Brett Beatty homer, and the rest was many thumbs down.
That's such a great bit. There's such a beauty in the simplicity.
Yeah, and just Jordan Hicks pitched great too. I failed to mention that. 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, kind of went under the radar, but just a great Giants win, and there was a good amount of Giants fans around too. Many high fives exchanged. It was very fun to watch them all slowly file out in the bottom of the 10th as we just kept piling on. But yeah, honestly, such a great game. And we needed it because that last game of the series, a little bit forgettable. Another wasted Webb start. 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, caned. Sean Manaea with 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. Wisely another homer. But as was foreshadowed before, Tyler Rogers came in with a save situation after Doval was unavailable from the previous day, and he allowed 3 runs in the 9th. And a bit unfortunate, but if you're going to lose one, I don't know. That's how you lose one. You have a decent offensive effort. Your starting pitcher goes, and one reliever blows it. I'm kind of fine with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And it's just the classic way that Tyler Rogers will blow a save or whatever. It's dinks and dunks. It's little hits that you're like, it happens sometimes with him. He induces such weak contact, but sometimes the magic Wandu is alive and well. So you live with it.
It's true.
And
it's true.
Giants fans online who are whining about Melvin using Tyler Rogers need to just stop watching baseball. Well, actually, there's no way you're currently watching baseball. So
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Baseball.
If you're saying that you're not watching the games, and if anything, you could quibble with maybe Tyler in the 8th and then Walker in the 9th, because I think Walker's got a little bit more of that closer's mentality, but it is what it is. Then now we're currently in the Phillies series, which was always going to be the real challenge. The Mets and the Pirates are capable, but not great. But the Phillies,
But it's so good that both at home and on the road now, we have taken care of business against both of those teams because
yes,
both our series against the Pirates and Mets are now done for the year. And those are two teams that are going to finish the year below 500. And we won 2 out of 3, both at home and on the road against each team. And like, that's just taking care of business in the way that you need to if you're going to stack wins and if you want to be a playoff team.
and if you want to be a playoff team, you got to bang with the best of them, which is the Philadelphia Phillies with the best record. I don't know if in the whole game, but at least in the NL at the time of coming into the series. And, this was going to be the test. And we're 2 wins in. We've won the series already. I mean, the first game, tell me if you've heard the story before, but Blake Snell comes in, 4 innings pitched, 4 earned runs. Absolutely brutal to watch. We're texting each other. It's awful. But then we just claw back. You get RBIs from Bailey, Estrada, Yaz, and then Brett Wisely with a big double in the 6th to go up 6-4. Ramos with a big knock in the 8th, I think, to score Tyrone
broke
Chapman.
it open. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then our bullpen honestly on fire again lately. Another big 2 innings from Randy. You'll notice that's something you'll see often.
Randy.
And then Randy, and then Miller Walker Doval to close, and just such a great win. And then we do it in a different way yesterday. 1-0 bullpen game. Everybody's a little bit freaked out after we've been using the bullpen so much. We're going up against Zach Wheeler. The narratives are there again. Former Giant prospect burns the Giants, but man, what a job by the bullpen yesterday. I mean, Miller 1 inning to open. Taylor Rogers, who's been getting a lot of hate, honestly, lately, 2 innings. Spencer
he was phenomenal
Howard
yesterday too. Taylor was
so good.
He was on the black with everything. He was unhittable. Yep. Bryson Stott had an at bat where he just watched every pitch go by. Like, it just was so perfectly placed. He had no chance.
Yeah, and quietly his ERA is under 3 now, 2.91 I think on the season. Spencer Howard, former Phillies guy, 4 innings
Spencer.
pitched. What fucking clutch innings, and how needed were they yesterday? Yeah. And then Tyro, the brother, in for an inning. Sean Jelly, who we'll talk about later, gutsy 2 innings pitched. In the 10th specifically, they walked Schwarber and then got Real Muto on the ground out, who's fresh off a 17-game hit streak, which is insane. He was pumped up. You love to see it. And I just want to shout out a couple plays because, it was a low-scoring game, but like we were saying earlier, it's that defense that really makes that. And so this was the game with that Chapman play off the glove of Rogers. And also, big strike him out, throw him out from Bailey in the 5th. Man,
that was massive. The Wisely play where Harper grounds one into the hole and he throws out.
Yes.
Who would have? Was it Real Muto at third base, and Chapman? And this goes back to what we were talking about with Chapman. He is so good. They've changed the rules on blocking the bases when you're receiving a throw, and there have been some weird calls this year. They're still trying to figure out kind of how to regulate that. But Chapman is like fully behind the base, like making sure he is not in any way impeding the runner, and gets the ball and then like dives forward like my mic just did to tag out Real Muto. The instincts by Wisely, we're going to talk a little bit more about him in a second, but just like those plays matter so much in a 1-run game that you don't score a run until the 10th inning. And shout out to redemption man Tyler Fitzgerald for winning a game for us on the base paths. Nothing like too wild and crazy, but tagged up on 2 balls that were hit decently deep, but nothing like wild. And we win the game because of that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Kurt Casale out there as the automatic runner on second, maybe it's a different thing that happens because it's purely sac flies that we got that run. I mean, I feel like Wilmer was put on this earth to hit sac flies in extra innings to advance the automatic runner. Like, that is his thing. And then Matos.
Shout out Luis Matos, who he does not miss the ball. He's a contact merchant, and it's huge to have in those situations.
Yeah. He's definitely slumped a little bit, but it was a good moment for him to have a walk-off.
As soon as I picked him up in fantasy, this is my fault.
Of course. But yeah, just a great win. And to take even 2 out of 3 from the Phillies, we have a chance for a third today. Harrison on the bump against Sanchez, or I don't know, one of those random Phillies guys. But man, I thank you for indulging us for going through all those games. But I mean, it's just the Giants games have been so eminently forgettable this year that to have all these games with like a unique identity and something like a big moment to take from all of it, I've been enjoying relishing in all of it big time. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we should take a quick break and we will come back, talk about some guys, answer some questions, and we'll see you back here very soon. And we're back. I hated that. And we're back. We have some guys to talk about. A lot of guys to talk about. And I think the first one of them is a guy that is just such a Clark player that it's almost comical. I think it's time that we talk about Brett Wisely. Take it away.
He's such a Clark player that sometimes I even look like him a little bit. I feel like I need to grow my hair out a little bit more, trim the beard ever so slightly, but
put
Brett
a little
Wisely
rouge on your cheeks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was at a game with some work colleagues last year, and Brett Wisely comes up to bat, and they're like, "Wait, Clark, are you on the Giants?" And it became this running bit, which was unfortunate because he was so bad last year. But the reason we're going to talk about him is he has been incredible. And in the rotating circus of our shortstop position this year, we've been going through the ups and downs of who's the guy. Oh, well, if you sacrifice offense, you get defense. If you sacrifice defense, you get offense. Little did we know the guy who has not really played any shortstop in AAA this year, barely played for us last year, is maybe our shortstop of the season future. It's changing so much. I don't want to put my all my marbles into that, or whatever that saying is. But Brett Wisely's been incredible. He's come up with clutch hits. He has made some really good defensive plays, and more than anything, he's just solid. Like, he is not making mistakes. He feels very grounded and ready for the moment. I want to give a quick shout out because I am a Farhan shill, that Farhan got him because we signed Trevor Rosenthal, never pitched for us. We traded him to the Brewers, where he never pitched either, for an outfielder, a minor league outfielder, who then we traded last offseason to the Rays because they had a 40-man roster crunch and didn't have space for Wisely. We bring in Wisely, and it's just one of those, I think we have to appreciate how circuitous the path is for successful baseball, and why Farhan is constantly making these marginal moves, because you truly never know when someone is going to have a huge impact and when they're going to have that huge impact. And he decided the perfect time to step up for this team. Luciano's been hitting really well, but again, he had those 3 errors over the past week, and the concerns about his defense have really, I think, heightened. And so we had Webby on the mound, Hicks on the mound. Wisely's the guy. You know, they're going to get ground balls. He's pitching, he's at shortstop. And on top of that, he's hitting just as well, if not better than Luciano. So, shout out Brett Wisely, who has injected a huge feeling into this team, and has a left-handed bat in the infield, which we have desperately been needing because all of our guys are right-handed.
Yeah, big time. I mean, also, like, the thing that he brings too is some positional versatility. I think that there's a little bit of an intersection of the Venn diagram with him and Fitz to a degree, but he can also play first. I think we stuck him there in the late innings, and he might honestly get a look there a little bit more when Ahmed comes back, just because of the weight injury, which we'll talk about a bit. But yeah, I mean, he's 25. He's definitely gone under the radar, but he's been hitting it in the minors this year. But we just haven't been talking about him because, he took this circuitous route that you were talking about. And, just watching him play this weekend, especially when I was watching them in person, I was just struck looking at this roster. It's been easy to be a hater this year, but you just look around and you see, I don't know. I'm feeling like we're back on our Farhan bullshit, to be honest with you. Like
I'm back.
You see Wade, you see Wisely, you see Jordan Hicks, you see these, you see these guys, you see, Chapman's starting to Yaz, exactly.
Tyro.
And it's like, Tyro, keep it. I mean, and then these young
Bailey.
guys, Ramos, Bailey. Bailey is the big one. I mean, we'll get to him in a sec. But I mean, these are seeds that have been planted a long time ago, and they're just coming kind of now to grow at the same time. And it's honestly, I feel I'm definitely hopped up on 8-2 in the last 10. But I mean, you see what he's going for right now. I think more now than ever. I think 2021 was obviously an example of that, but that was more like putting together spare parts and making a meal from nothing. But this is more, you're starting to see a composed dish to me, which is really exciting.
And a sustainably composed dish. I mean, I think that's the key, is
farm to table.
So many of these guys are young and continuing to develop. This transitions into someone or two people I really wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to spend too much time. But Webby and Camilo are having just classic seasons. And I think it's easy to remember that, they both were rookies in 2021 and became huge parts of that 2021 season during the stretch run. Obviously, Webb started game 1. Camilo gave up the, blown save in game 5 when we ended up losing, or maybe not blown save, but he gave up the run to Bellinger, whatever. Those two guys have just consistently been all-star level performers for us. And again, I mean, I'm on my Farhan bullshit, but he took both of these guys who were already drafted and signed by the organization, and our development team has, made them into who they are. A ton of credit to both of them. I'm just so impressed by the poise of Camilo. I mean, we had some crazy, crazy games this week, and he is just so steady now. He, in typical Giants closer fashion, a la Brian Wilson, loves to load the bases and get to a 3-2 count before having to make a do or die pitch. But I mean, he's just so clutch when he needs to be. I have so much confidence in him. Even though he blew that game against the Pirates, I knew he was going to be good the next time up. So yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah. And I mean, it's easy to forget now, and this was a little bit of a long time ago, but this is a team that signed Mark Melancon for $57 million in 2017 because we didn't have an answer in the farm, and we had to go find those closers outside. And a Giants closer that comes from the farm is just such an asset to this team. And now, now we're in a position where we're thinking about how not to overuse him rather than, how
and we have more options now than we've had. I mean, even last year, I think Kapler got a lot of flack for the way he overused Camilo, but he had to in a lot of senses. We didn't have...
I mean, you see why.
Yeah. And now, and this is speaking to that development pipeline, Sean Jelly pitches the 9th and 10th last night in a 1-0 win. Randy Rodriguez is putting all of it together. This is a guy that people have been excited for years with his stuff. Very similar kind of timeline to Camilo in a lot of senses, and similar repertoire. And and seeing him put stuff together. We've talked about Ryan Walker, the Rogers twins. Obviously, Taylor was a free agent signing, but Tyler was developed within the organization. Eric Miller. So the sustainable success model is finally revealing itself. And it's, we've talked a ton about how the pitching has always kind of been there developmentally. But we're seeing it back to the Wisely point of like, we're seeing young guys. I mean, Ramos looks so solid. He looks like he belongs. It'll be interesting to see when Slater and Conforto come back, because unfortunately there is a bit of a logjam there. But, Matos looks like he belongs. Like, it's exciting to see guys who we know are going to be around for a long time succeeding and really changing the entire vibe of the organization, which is amazing.
Yeah, big time. And I mean, I think when you look at bullpen construction, honestly, some of our rivals in the NL West are such examples of that, in terms of, you look at the Dodgers and you don't know, like, who the fuck is Evan Phillips, or do you know what I mean? Like, they just always have these random guys. The Padres have been like a bullpen pipeline for a long time. But the thing of it is that relievers are volatile. You're asking guys to come in and throw max effort every inning, and that's going to put wear on your arms. So you have to have this kind of like revolving door of just guys that you can pick up and put in. And, to see a guy like Jelly, who's been passed over kind of in a previous managership, do well and in a big spot, is so encouraging to the state of the team. And you understand why the front office has been targeting pitching so much in recent drafts, because obviously, when from the fan perspective, I feel like we are asking for offense usually from this team and from the farm, but pitching is just as important. And when you're spending big money on free agent relievers, it's not going well for you. Like, look at what Craig Kimbrell's doing this year. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, It's not, you need to like have those guys, those young guys, to come up and do it. And I know we talked about him earlier, and I know right now the feeling is one of sadness with Lamont Wade, but I mean, just how good has he been this year? He briefly qualified for the OBP leader at 481,
we should have known.
Is fucking insane.
We should have known a month-long injury was coming as soon as he qualified for rate stats.
I mean, the Brandon Belt comparison, it only continues, right?
So good.
But like, I mean, he's been so good. Where this team would be without him, I don't know. Just clutch hitting, getting on base. Like we've said, just start him with like a 3-2 count. Like, just skip all the ceremony of it. Just do that. And it's a real shame that he's got a grade 2, I think, hamstring strain, which the estimated time of recovery is 4 weeks minimum.
Honestly,
which puts
so
him
much better than I was fearing when he first went down. So if we need to put him on ice for a month, I'm okay with it. Generally speaking, especially after Jung-Hoo goes down and never comes back. So
don't say never like that. That's too dramatic. But no. We can't go down this too much. But no, I agree. I was I was Googling hamstring strains and the grades and trying to play fake doctor the other day. And grade 3 is like months. So that we escaped that is a big one. That's like when it's more of a tear. This is more just like a strain that can be rehabbed. So I think he's probably 4 weeks puts him back a couple weeks before the All-Star break. I feel like realistically, it's probably going to be post All-Star break, but I think that the lesson that we learned here, I mean, it's on that Chapman play that he extended. I think that's where the hamstring issue started.
Yep.
And then we have him pinch hit at that game that I was at, and he tries to stretch the double, and then, it just kind of compounds. So hopefully the lesson learned. I know he was pretty, like, the comments to the reporters after the game, he seemed pretty put out, but I think the lesson here is just truly get healthy before you come back.
Our last player that I want to shout out before shouting out a duo that I love. Evan, can you talk a little bit about Patty Barrels? Because I swear he just does not stop impressing. And the Buster Posey comparisons, while not, directly, they're not the same type of player. The Giants feel like the Giants when we have a homegrown all-star catcher. And I think the sample size is too big now to think that this is not sustainable from him.
I 100% agree. I mean, our last real success that we had was 2021 when Buster gritted it through a season to give us what he could. And we've been kind of lost at sea since then. And Patty Barrels has taken the helm of the ship and he's steering it. I mean, I was doing the typical boyfriend at a baseball thing, explaining a lot of the roles of players and catchers or whatever. But, he is similar to Buster in that he quietly is one of the smartest guys out there. I mean, I know that's such a stereotypical catcher thing, but he really is just the IQ. I mean, not to, Blake Snell is on our team, and so I'm rooting for him, but I don't think it's necessarily coincidence that he's the one guy who exclusively calls his own games and has been having such a hard time lately. I mean, his game calling ability, his defense, and his offense. I mean, he's hitting around 300. He's driving in runs. He's doing it authoritatively. And it's just with such confidence, such maturity for his age too.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's been able to find his swing in the majors. Buster was always going to hit. That was going to be his thing.
Yep.
But the fact that he's been able to develop at the highest level, which is, credit honestly to Kapler and Melvin and Farhan and all the coaches involved. Like, it's just such a success story. And it really, you look around the league and there's not that many more guys that you'd even put in the same discussion with him. I mean, you look at like maybe Contreras for the Brewers, Real Muto for the Phillies, Murphy when he's healthy for the Braves, but definitely in the National League. I mean, those are the guys. He's up there. And I think
shout out Will Smith too, even though the Dodgers suck.
Yeah, Will Smith, but love the Dodgers. And but I think really the thing is going to be for him that we keep him healthy and energized throughout the year, because obviously that's like the last thing that has to slide into place for him to truly be a capital T, capital G, the guy. So yeah. But just so fucking good seeing him healthy again too, because going on the concussion IL, coming back, going back on, it's always concerning to see that from a catcher. So see him out there looking lucid, that in of itself has been a win, and then to see him play at this level is just fucking the cherry on top.
And shout out to Kurt Casale, who in a Giants uniform does nothing but win games.
Literally, it's the Casale era, man. I mean, that's a majestic mustache. And I see two more names on here that you want to talk about.
Two more names.
Who might
I want to
be?
shout out some broadcasters. As many who are listening to this know, the Giants are blessed with the best broadcast duo and just team in general. Krug and Kuiper legends, John Miller and Flem, are way overqualified to be the radio guys for a team.
Yep.
And on the road, we really get to see Flem on the TV broadcasts just be amazing. Shout out to Flem, too, who was, I don't know if you saw the Scotty Scheffler arrest in the golf world, Evan.
No.
But the best golfer in the world got arrested because a cop was being just he was on a power trip and mad because he was going around a cone thing or whatever. And yeah, they arrest him. And Flem was on KMBR last week because he was a mere 2 cars away from it when it happened, because he was announcing the PGA Championship rather. So Flem is just so talented with all sports. He can do anything. But who I want to particularly shout out is Javi Lopez, who feels like the best of the next generation of Giants broadcasters. I mean, I think you and I have loved Javi since he was a Giant. He was always super articulate. He makes the women in our lives a little bit too happy, which would be a downgrade, except he's incredible at broadcasting, so I can't hate him. But handsome Javi is getting better and better on these broadcasts. And I think that Mets series in particular really highlighted how good they are. Their call for the Chapman play was amazing.
Yes.
Fleming's always been able to really rise. It's so true. It is. I mean, it just, you have that sense of this is a huge, huge deal. And the broadcasters, set the scene so well. They have such a fun energy back and forth. So the last person or people I wanted to shout out were just the broadcasters, because Kruk and Kuiper's starting to get old and they're not doing as many games, and it's good to know that the Giants vibe and the broadcast vibe is still going to be alive and well even when they're gone.
Yeah, I totally echo that. I was watching some games when I was home, and they're so funny together. Like I wish I'd written down exactly the quote, but there was something that like Flem messed up, and then Javi was talking about like the river of serenity flows, like something so crazy, like about like mindfulness or something. And I was like, this is insane. And like their vibe together is so good. I mean, and also I'd say everybody else has been improving too. I think Hunter's getting better. And Joe Rizzo, I've enjoyed him the most that I've ever enjoyed him.
I really like Joe Rizzo. And he and FP have a really good chemistry on the radio.
Yeah, FP's good too. Shout out to them. All right. I think we're going to close out here with a quick question and answer. When do we start worrying about Jorge Soler?
Yeah, it's funny because he was good on the road trip and it felt like he was heating up. But we happened to be recording after the 1-0 win against the Phillies, where it felt like every at bat he just chopped a ball straight into the ground.
Grounder. Always.
Yeah, it feels like he's still pressing a little bit at home, but on the road he's finding a little bit more success. I love that he's batting 6th in the lineup. Other guys are producing. I won't worry until August. If he's still batting like 210 with a 290 on base percentage in August, then I'll start worrying. But I think he's going to turn it around.
Yeah, I think it's still early yet. I mean, he's got 6-7 homers on the year. It's not horrible. I think the thing that maybe like makes it more concerning is just the amount of years that we have him signed for. But even then, the contract's not that big, and so I feel like if we ultimately have to cut bait and like Tommy La Stella, it is what it is. But there's time yet, and I think he's still finding it. But we've seen flashes. So as maddening as it is to see him hit a grounder to third base every fucking time, I think he'll find it. All right, next question. What is the answer at the first base position as Lamont Wade is out, and why is that answer Brandon Belt?
Oh my God, I wish. There's no way, right?
I mean, is the answer Trenton Brooks? I mean, I think realistically,
he is Bizarro Lamont Wade in the minor leagues, so in some ways, maybe.
I think obviously Wisely's going to get some time there. I think this is Wilmer's time to turn it on. I mean, This has been a very uncharacteristic Wilmer year this year, besides hitting sac flies to advance runners in extra innings. But he hasn't gotten it going yet, and I think this is his chance. And then if he doesn't get it going now, then I don't really know what role he has on this team moving forward. I'm not saying that to cut him, but I think that his role becomes much, much smaller moving forward. So I think it's him probably. Maybe you. I don't know. Do we play Bailey at first ever?
No. Sable maybe. No. I know Sable was getting some grounders there. I wouldn't be against that. I thought it was interesting.
Me too.
That actually. we decided to purchase the contract of Trenton Brooks rather than bring up VR or Sable. But I liked the move. I saw Brooks in AAA when I went to the River Cats game. He hit a homer. He takes good at bats. I liked his at bats yesterday, although didn't come to much. But I'm interested to see Brooks and more Wilmer and then kind of see how it plays out from there. But yeah, I'm just glad it's only a month. I think we can survive a month with Wilmer and Trenton Brooks. If it was a grade 3, I'd really be asking for Brandon Belt at this point. I still think it's crazy that the Pirates have Rowdy Tellez at first base and Brandon Belt doesn't have a team.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the reason I'm not in charge is that I would immediately be calling Brandon right now and ask him to get his uniform back on, because I think that he could really do something, especially because we're lacking in terms of lefties, and that's kind of why we're making some of these moves. But
if I were in charge, I would have called him in April to be our, lefty out of the bullpen. So I'm really not someone who should be trusted. Next question. What are we doing at the shortstop position, Evan?
You mentioned it with Wisely. I think he's going to be a big part of it. I think Fitzgerald, too, is going to be a big part too. I think how many times can I say two? But he, kind of got the slap on the wrist for that pickoff, getting sent back to AAA, but he tore it up down there.
And he hit like 4 homers in a week.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like we said earlier, he's a vital part of this team. So I want to see him out there. I want to see Wisely out there. Luciano, I think, might be getting the short stick here ultimately, which is crazy with his OPS over 1,000 right now. But I think our pitching results from early in the year are from Ahmed and Chapman being out there on the left side. Like, it really is. And so Ahmed's going to figure in there. I'd love to, I want to see Lucy figure it out long term, but I just don't know if he's a shortstop. I mean, he was saying all the right things before the Pirates series. I'm just focused on making the simple plays, and it's not happening. Evaluators from outside the organization aren't seeing it. So we'll see what happens there. But I think it's going to be a bit of a hodgepodge situation, but it seems like the team understands that defense is like the thing that you have to go with there for the time being. So I think a bit of a mixture.
I thought it was interesting last night. They bring in Jose Alvarado in the late innings, and Fitzgerald pinch hit for Wisely, not Luciano. And I think the idea was to get his speed, and he walked. He was creating havoc on the base paths in his first at bat, and then he was the Manfred runner in the 10th inning and ended up scoring from the 2 sac flies. So I think Luciano's kind of in between. His role is kind of more like Soler's role, but Soler's back, and so he's not going to DH because we want him to get everyday reps. But we also want him on the roster to get, I think, ground balls before games and work with the major league staff. So people are frustrated online. I don't know about fans who are not necessarily on Twitter or Reddit, but like I've seen a lot of people say, like, what are we doing with him if we're not going to play him? And there's so much more that goes into being on the big league club than just playing. Now, there's also no substitute for actually playing games, but when you're in your head potentially, and we don't really know how he's doing mentally, a week break might not be necessarily the worst thing.
Yep, I agree. Well, this has been a longer episode of Foggy today. So much good Giants to talk about. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed what you heard today and you're part of the few, the proud, give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you feel like it. Share it with a friend who likes Giants baseball. This is a good time to be tuning into Giants baseball, whether it's to this podcast or just watching the games. It's a good time. So thank you for joining us. We will be back
final
soon.
Shout out before we end. Happy birthday to my dear co-host, Evan, who turns 30 by the time this is out, or maybe right after this is out. Happy birthday, my friend. Hope the Giants continue their winning ways against the 2 best teams in baseball. We haven't mentioned this yet, but the Phillies and Yankees, what a slog, but we've won the first 2 games. By the time we record next, we'll have an idea of how these 2 series went. But shout out to you, my friend. Happy birthday.
Thank you, my friend. And I guess my birthday gift that I'll be hoping for is that we close down this Phillies series and stick it to the Yanks, because Yankees fans are some of the most annoying people that I've ever met. Thank you for joining us. We will be back soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.